gentlemen, Fnatic are celebrating their yet another victory, and Defish and I have pulled a hyperkinetic position reverser. We swapped ourselves onto the desk for our next few games. And before we get into it, I would like to remind you guys at home that the European Challenger Series does get underway this summer next Wednesday. That's June 24th, and it'll be Gamers 2 taking on Overclockers UK.
Yeah, and of course it's casted by Stress and Pulse here, our usual Challenger casters. We're doing such a good job, and Stress now even was in the LCS for a few games. Have to remember, over to LoL Esports, check the schedule. Don't miss the games, because there are some very, very exciting teams to watch now. I'm really looking towards Wicked and what he can do.
And we'll have to see who's going to qualify for the next set of promotion tournaments. Before any of that, though, let's move on to the next matchup at hand, because the two teams are locked in 5th place. We're going to start with Gambit Gaming. It is going to be Cabochard, Diamond Prox, Betsy, Forgiven, Go Superpa, and Sean's their coach. This is a team that's sort of swapped place in the standings with UOL. They're on that 3-game winning streak. And Unicorns of Love, they're the ones that are on a 3-game losing streak. Let's quickly look at their roster, Deficio. Unicorns of Love, of course, with Chachi in the top lane, Kikis in the jungle, Power of Evil mid, Vardags, Hillesang, and Sheepy to round out the team. And as we said, opposite games yesterday, swapping places in the standings. It's all up and down.
Yeah, it really seems like Gambit has just found a way that works for them as a team. Again, it's going back to the spring split style. Cabochard is once again the main carry. It's not about Forgiven in the mid lane. Betsy also getting more focus, obviously, but get Cabochard fed in the early game. We saw his fantastic fizz. We have seen his Hecarim and so on. Like last game, 8 kills. He died once. Insane kill participation. He was just everywhere on the map. And we don't get to see the same for Unicorns of Love, and they are what we call star play and Power of Evil. It doesn't seem to have the same punch, honestly. And Power of Evil often ends up getting himself killed by playing too aggressive.
Yeah, not only that, the champions that he's playing are not working in his favor. So many of them, little to no lane presence, all of this scaling, things that are not working out in Unicorn's favor. We're about to jump into picks and bans. I just want to highlight a few of the interesting stats and trends that we've noticed over the course of the day. Gragas has now gone unpicked twice. Rise twice as well, 26 out of 28 games for that Rise. And teams are starting to lose a little bit of priority on those picks that we had considered coming in.
Right.
Still incredibly strong.
I think teams are figuring out there's quite a lot of counterplays to someone like Rise, so you don't have to ban it, you can play around it. Gragas, it's also because Echo has become a big thing for a lot of junglers here, so they might try and take it over the Gragas. I still think though Rek'Sai Gragas are the two main picks though. Pick and bans, Morgana against Hillesang, I feel like I've seen it before. And I think it's going to happen almost every single game the Unicorns will play this split.
Yeah, Morgana is actually one of the hidden gems here in Europe. Not one of the most picked or played, but 11 wins, 2 losses. That is a fantastic win-loss ratio. And I do want to quickly just circle back to the Gragas, because Cabochard is still playing it top lane for Gambit.
True.
If it gets locked in early, don't know which lane it's going into. Maokai was taken away from Chachi. Let's see a UOL reply.
And the thing about this Gragas top lane here, it's a strategy for Gambit to have flex picks. Overall here, we've seen Fizz, Gragas. I mean, there's been multiple picks. Lulu has gone support, it's gone mid lane, it can even go top lane for them. And it's something they have done now over the last few months. Honestly, they did it also in Spring Split. Let's see if it's going to be a factor. They tend to leave a lot of OP picks up here and try and more target ban. Morgana here against Hillesang, Cassiopeia against Power of Evil, not considered an OP pick at all. So once again, the likes of Kalista is open, and that's not a Forgiven champion.
Well, we'll find out if it is. Something that has been a Forgiven champion was that Corki. 3 games in a row, 3 games undefeated. Forgiven's doing a lot of work expanding that champion pool. It was also a very high priority on red side for Gambit yesterday. With Fizz banned away, their first lock-in will be the Rek'Sai.
Hey, you talked about the Gragas, how some teams have favored Echo over it. If you do ban one of the tier 1 junglers and the other one is left open, you should always expect it to be first pick. That does mean, of course, the Unicorns have plenty of picks to go for. Alistar for Hillesang. He had a decent game. Yesterday he roamed around pretty well, and Morgana has been banned away. But then he loses some of that pick pressure we normally see when he plays these skill shot champions that can really set them up like Thresh, which could also be a go-to pick for him.
Let's take a look at what else is available. Alistar, as you mentioned, Kalista Alistar was the combo that Unicorns locked in yesterday. Looks like they might be changing that recipe up. Fnatic did the Sivir, H2K did the Sivir, Unicorns doing the same.
I think this, in terms of overall team synergy, is the best 2v2 lane you can have. It's hard to remove Kalista there, because Kalista you can add her in as well and you have an insane carry. But what Sivir offers and what Alistar offers to a team in terms of team fighting and also overall map pressure, you have a fantastic roaming support and you have an AD carry that can control waves push it into the tower when you start setting up these roams. Then you teleport down, you have your jungler move in, and you just dive because you got that Alistar ulti. And you can punish people so hard if they don't have proper wave clear. Corki would be my expected AD carry for Forgiven. The Bard Corki lane is pretty good at pushing out as well, and that should be able to stop an Alistar at least from getting into the situation where you can dive them.
And of course, that was the combination that Gambit did run yesterday. It looks like it'll be locked in today. Despite 5.11 having those small nerfs to Sivir's ultimate, not making big changes. And actually, we're going to see the Lucian locked in here for Forgiven.
So let's just very quickly talk about why he's switching over. I think Forgiven would normally prefer than to get the Corki, but the reason he goes for Lucian here is because once you get a BF sword, you can start really out-trading this Sivir in the lane here. You can play very aggressive against her. Even from the start, it can be fairly even, but then get that BF sword, you take over completely. So Forgiven here, he's looking for blood. And
he's challenging the numbers, Deficio. Forgiven, or rather, Lucian, has been played 9 times in the summer split. All 9 games have been defeats. 0 and 9 in the current meta. We'll see if Forgiven can make it work and keep Gambit's winning streak alive. For Unicorns of Love, they're going to be looking for their mid laner, top laner, and jungler to round out their composition, and as per usual, should leave that mid lane pick to last.
Yeah.
And we'll find out what they're going to decide to lock in. Chachi will be getting the Ninja once more in Shen.
He had a very good performance yesterday against SK Gaming on Shen. The flash taunts he managed to pull off time and time again was beautiful, and I understand why he's going back to it. We've seen it being fairly strong throughout the day here on 5.11 as well. Not going for Lee Sin for Kikis, but Nidalee also a pick we've seen quite a few times. It's once again, for me, when you have this Sivir, with how easy you can start setting up potential poke situations, Nidalee then starts shining a bit more, and she can also challenge the Rek'Sai in the early game.
So where does Cabochard go with this? We've seen Na into Shen twice, actually. Yesterday, Chachi's Shen got bullied around by Freddy's Na. Made his life a little difficult, and we'll see whether or not Cabochard wants to go that route. Alternatively, Lulu is locked in. That's going to be for Betsy in the mid lane. Maybe a harder carry here for Gambit. So Gambit looking to put together a very aggressive team composition as the pony has been secured.
Yeah, this is super standard for Gambit in what they like to do. They put Betsy on the more supportive mid laners. We have then a third carry in the top lane for Cabochard, as we always talk about how get him fed early on with your Rek'Sai. This 2v2 they're going to have with Rek'Sai Hecarim and the Ignite as a summoner spell is going to be insanely strong for them up in that top lane, and Shen won't be able to deal with that in terms of fighting. So Gambit once again 3 carries. In a sense, I'm going to even add in Lulu, even though we know it's more utility based. I want to see though what Forgiven can do on Lucian, because he didn't go for the Corki. He was expecting Unicorns to have more hard engage, so you wouldn't get to set up your poke, and also the Corki into Sivir is a bit of a tricky lane due to the spell shield. Can he do well in the laning phase now on this Lucian? Can he become a carry? Because you always have to worry about that 500 range and all the zone control of an Alistar, of an Orianna ball, and the Shen taunt, even the taunt flash that can come in from Vishichachi. So it can be tough for Forgiven to deal damage, but that's why you have the likes of Hecarim in the top lane as well.
If there was anybody that was going to be able to position correctly around that or react to those flash taunts, it's going to be Forgiven, something that Crepo likes to talk about a lot, the aggressive positioning and aggressive dashes that we see out of Forgiven. So we'll see how it works out. We did see that Orianna locked in for Power of Evil. I'm still not 100% on board with these scaling champions. When you have a player like Power of Evil who has the ability to be so impactful, I just feel like you're banking on the late game too much. But we'll see. I mean, Unicorns, they had moments that were good yesterday against SK.
Yeah.
However, they had decisions that were bad. Yeah. And that ended up costing them the game.
A lot of them involved Power of Evil. On an Orianna, he was like flashing in, trying to get kills, ends up dying for it in the laning phase, in team fights. Big problem for him.
So we'll find out if he's been able to rectify those problems. Hashtag GMB win or hashtag UOL win on Twitter at LOL Esports. We will take a look at your votes in-game and see who you think will turn their fortunes around. Gambit's flag lit up as we load up onto the Rift. And as we've said, Gambit started the split looking shaky, now strong. Unicorns, the exact opposite.
And let's talk a little bit about what Gambit has done so well lately here, and the way they like to play and like to build their compositions. A lot of it involves around the new coach, Sean, who has a lot of focus on vision control and these rotations here, the macro play. And when you have a very mobile comp like a Hecarim, Rek'Sai, of course, with the Tunnel, the Global Ulti, the Lulu with Whimsy, and a Bard as well to roam around, if you have proper vision, you can really create a lot of picks very easily and use that to snowball your lead. Let's see what's going to happen here. Forgiven, he's a smart man. He's just warded that bush here, not going to risk a taunt from a Shen over. Even notice how Visichachi went down south of the wall. So in case someone had been standing there, you had to run into your own jungle to try and escape him, otherwise he would have taunted you.
So Unicorns still remain grouped up. Gambit are going to respond. It's a battle of pings and wards, as it were. Cabochard's grabbed himself that flask, so we'll see if he decides to go for a camp in an early back or how he decides to spend his time. And Hylissang starting Ancient Coin on that Alistar.
Minions have spawned.
Maybe looking for a swap, or maybe just like defensively against that range support of Bard who really can punish melees.
Definitely the last one, and he wants to get an early talisman for himself. Unicorns of Love here, their composition is built around the fact that they can start 5-on-5 team fights. Sivir ulti, talisman from an Alistar, then the Shen ulti coming in when someone like Kikis or someone like Hylissang is trying to dive in on Gambit is how they want to play it, but it requires them to have the mobility and the ability to also push out the waves before they start moving in as 5. Because if you start falling behind very, very early on, you might be forced to just sit and try and defend towers in 3 different lanes, and you never get to use that Sivir ulti or the talisman as a team. It happened earlier to, who was it? Rocket faced SK Gaming. They were just forced to sit and try and defend the side lanes.
Simply couldn't do it. Got themselves put into that position. So we do see Diamond Prox moving his way through the jungle. Stole that red buff on a very cheeky invade, but gets away clean. Still got his own buff to play with, and we did see Cabochard picked up some wards and potions and teleported up to that top lane. He's already bullying Chachi around with that level advantage.
And I really like when people take the ward from that camp to do level 1, because it allows them then to play super aggressive in the start of the lane. They can go in, they can start trading between the minion waves. You know Shen is going to stand there himself. I'm not sure how much farm Cabochard can deny from Chachi. Shen is a fairly safe laner in that sense. But the kill pressure, it's going to come from Kikis. Taunt the Hecarim, Kikis then has to land the spear and do the most of the damage if they want to take him down. And funny enough, or expected, I guess, he misses the first one on the red shot.
Remember, folks, the easiest shot is the one most often missed. And he gets the crab at the end of the day. He's going to be looking to invade. So look at Diamond's positioning, how he's been flying. This is a weird start as far as the jungle buffs are concerned.
I would really have preferred if Diamond just took the red buff, went straight to his own blue buff, secured that one, so there was no chance for Kikis to go in now and get 2 buffs himself, and also stay around this top side on the map. If you take your camps on top side, Kikis went for the first gank and he found nothing. He wouldn't have been able to really do a whole lot else and just back all the way down to the bottom side of the map, and he would have lost a lot of time. Now he gets a camp, even to go to use on Crook, and he can potentially gank.
So we see both junglers getting both of the same color buff. And we'll see how their gank pathing works out. You did touch on the bottom half of the map. Vardex and Hylissang have been pushed in heavily by Forgiven and Gosu Pepper. Already a 10 CS advantage. And every time I've looked at that mini-map, Vardex and Hylissang, melee support is just being bullied around by Gosu Pepper.
Yeah. It's not fun when your AD carry gets out-traded and your support gets out-traded. It's hard to do anything. Kikis, though, is around the mid lane.
He's going to pounce over. Betsy with a defensive flash. Kikis is going to get that movement speed. He's going to move through. There's the attack into dissonance, and Kikis secures first blood, looking to sink his fangs into Rek'Sai. The Diamond's going to be able to get away, holding on to that flash. Unicorns on the board.
Very, very good first gank here from Kikis, but also Betsy. Mistake in the mid lane and how he positions himself. He went close to that wall without having any wards on the other side, so very easy for Kikis to gank him. Didn't even have to use the flash. Diamond, of course, not nearby. He was just farming on his own. So first kill for Unicorns, and this is what they need. Yesterday, they tried the same gank. Power People flashed for it, didn't manage to get anything. Then he got ganked himself and died, and got set really far behind. This time he gets an assist. Let's see, though, if Diamond want to go in and try and gank his Orianna while the flash is down.
And of course, yesterday was against Sven Skeren's Echo. Very ingenious pathing. Diamond's going to have to do a little bit extra work, but on that Rek'Sai has definitely got the capabilities early on.
For sure. But look what Power Weaver's doing. He did the same thing before. Tier early, and then he goes into Morello Normicon, so he's putting so much focus on stacking mana and mana regen early on, so he can just sit and spam his ball here and act as a very safe wave clear, but it's setting him behind a lot in the mid game. It's making him very weak, and he needs that Seraph Embrace before he really starts spiking now on 2 items. And I think it's very risky on an Orianna because your damage is really not there.
Well, maybe Power of Evil's got that item set stuck from AP Cog in the middle lane. Still playing that same style. If given the time, he can eventually get to that power, but Unicorns of Love have not often been given that much time. So we're going to have a look at back up at this top lane. Chachi's got that Bomby Cinder to return to lane with. Even on CS with Cabochard, despite that early pressure. And this is exactly what you talked about, Official. We weren't expecting too much in that particular lane. Hylissang, though, is going to go for the headbutt pulverize. Boomerang Blade from Vardex puts a good trade, but Diamond is sniffing around. If Vardex and Hylissang stick around, they're going to be in trouble. Here comes Diamond Frost. He's got the flash. He gets a 2-man knockup. Vardex with an early summon, a heal. He should be out clean as Hylissang pulverizes the ground once more. And it did cost both the Vardex summoners.
A nice little gank coming in here. Unicorns of Love have been behind in this bottom lane, and it's not exactly going to get a lot better. We mentioned in Champ Select how BF Sword for Lucian, something his ability starts scaling really well with the AD, and he's just going to outshine the Sivir. Add in the fact that you have a tier Orianna in the mid lane and a Shen top lane. Unicorns of Love is not going to have a lot of damage in the mid game. They're not going to be able to match Gambit in that case, so they're going to have to play super defensive and try and play around pushing waves and towers instead of straight up team fighting, unless they can create a pick.
We'll see if they can. For the time being, Unicorns do have that advantage, thanks to First Blood, of course.
Not a lot of pick options, though.
Finds out. Hylissang goes in for another aggressive trade. Then comes out the better of that one. Thanks, of course, to that triumphant roar. Big wave pushing up. And again, Forgiven and Ghostu Pepper pushing heavily. 20 CS advantage in this bottom lane. The duo's working out for now.
And once Forgiven goes back to base and gets that BF sword, then I want to see Gambit continue to play around this bottom lane. It's your strongest lane at the moment. It's where you know you're going to be able to push it into the Tower of Unicorns of Love again and again and again. Then, of course, you have to worry about the Shen. But you are so strong just in the 2v2 with some backup from a TP or your jungler. You should be able to take down that tower and start speeding up and get into this mid game here.
Well, we'll see if they can. We did see Diamond briefly show his face top. No real gank opportunity, but could have been there if Kikis was around. And I just want to touch on the fact that this game is going to be slightly different from what has actually got Gambit their 3 respective wins. Forgiven's farming very well, but he's got a lot of support from that Lulu and Bard. And, you know, leading up to this game, yesterday we actually heard Betsy saying how it's not Gambit learning to play with Forgiven, it's Forgiven learning to play with Gambit. All the damage percentages and farm, everything's leaning in that favor. Forgiven playing the cleanup role as the rest of Gambit are setting him up for success.
Forgiven has not been the main carry for Gambit whenever they've been winning. And he seems to be happy with it, or at least he's not publicly complaining about it if he's not happy. So I also think for him it suits the style of Gambit from last split. And I think Forgiven is just such a good AD carry that he can play all these different styles. He doesn't have to be the main carry. He can play cleanup. He has great positioning. He knows when to go in, when to push his advantage, and when to play defensive. So Forgiven is just all around a very versatile AD carry in that sense. And that's that early pressure on the tower.
Thing is, that's a sentence that you would not have said in spring.
True.
Forgiven is a versatile.
But he didn't have to play all the styles. He needed to play that carry style. There was no other way with the way SK were playing.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how one player, how drastically different it can be depending on the rest of your teammates. It's easy to look good when everybody's playing well. Much more challenging when everybody needs to step up, of course. So Forgiven again with that lead. Look across the board. Power of Evil's got a CS advantage over Betsy. Betsy, of course, gave up First Blood. Forget that. Lost a little bit of presence. A lot of tower damage traded in that bottom lane, but nothing should fall yet as we reach that 10 minutes.
With Betsy just walking out to take that blue buff beforehand, Unicorns Love have the time on it because Kikis took the first blue buff in the game, if you guys remember. So they knew they could suddenly invade into the jungle take away the red buff and set up a trap for Diamond. He's not spotting them. They're standing still.
No, and he's eaten the javelin toss. Kikis has gone in. Pounced for his second kill of the game.
And this whole build-up, as you just said before here, it starts from Kikis taking the first blue buff. He times it and he says it's now alive. Whenever Betsy leaves the lane, he's going to that blue buff. So he's going to be on the top side. We can easily invade in, set up a trap, take a red buff, go for Betsy, miss your pulverizer. That's not the plan though.
Not this time around. Kikis is going to sidestep. Does get caught by Shockwave. Now Betsy's in trouble, but does not eat a javelin toss. Kikis should be able to get out of this one alive as they make the tower golden. Pepper trying to hold on to it for as long as he can.
Great pressure play here from Unicorns though. Power Beaver is just constantly pushing down the mid lane every time he has the chance. Remember, Betsy died to that very first gank as well. That cost him a lot of damage on his tower. It set him behind in CS. Power Beaver has not let go. He's just kept applying that pressure. Now Diamond going on Hillsang.
Well, Hillsang does have Unbreakable Will and he throws it down. Diamond Prox is thinking about backing off. There's not a lot of support in damage here from Gambit. Gosu Pepper's moving up, but he's used Tempered Fate already. It does seem like that aggressive play is going to fizzle. The Fisho, Unicorns of Love are making proactive plays, which is something they did not do yesterday. And in contrast, Gambit are the ones with some situational errors.
It seems like the Unicorns of Love have had a plan now, and they follow that plan. They said, we get that blue buff, we know when it spawns, then we make an invade in. We try and potentially set up a trap if the chance is there. They went for the dragon as well, went for Given with recalling and said, we know we're gonna lose this bot tower fairly soon anyway, so we need to get something for it. Okay, take the dragon instead, delay our own recall. Varda's now just gonna give it up, Given, of course, keeping the pressure going, extending that CS lead. But it feels like Unicorns have had a plan for the early game, and that's something they've been lacking or missing before. Diamond now, he's just gonna double tunnel his way out.
Yeah, finds his way out, but we do see the first tower falling. It's Forgiven, pushing it down as Gosu Pepper's moved around the map to roam.
And right now here for Gambit, you have a Shen sitting top lane. One of the reasons Shen wasn't that strong in the meta beforehand was his lack of wave clear. There was just no control really from him, so you could very easily start pushing in against him. Capuchat has been doing it. Now when you have a Bard and a Lucian, you can very easily swap your dual lane to the top side, take another tower. Chachi's not going to be able to defend it on his own. And then you just need Capuchat to sit in the bottom lane and stop UOL from taking that one. And then suddenly you try and, once again, you speed up the game. You say, no more laning phase. We want to start fighting here in the mid game.
We'll see if Unicorns can find that fight. We do see an early Archangel start from Power of Evil. First big item completed. Chachi's got that Sunfire cape. So in terms of some of those first item backs, UOL sitting a little more comfortably for the time being. Cabochard seems to be coming off worse for wear against that Sunfire cape because he's only got boots, a longsword, and a ruby crystal. But he's still farming very well, and we know the impact that those home guard teleport ganks will have, especially with Dragon coming up in a minute.
That is a place, though, or a situation where Shen could work really well. If you know how important it is for him to get off that home guard, the Shen ulti and the fact he also has a TP is going to give him a few more tools to try and react time and time again. But Unicorns, they've been winning this mid lane from the first gank they pull off. They now get a tower instantly back into the jungle of Gambit. One of the reasons for this Nidalee pick is the fact he can go for these aggressive invades. Kik has been spending more time in Diamond jungle than his own.
And what a difference from yesterday. Unicorns tried that mid lane gank, it didn't work. And Kikis got invaded upon many, many times. It was Power of Evil that got pressured, and Kikis couldn't fight. Of course, picks and bans has something to do with that, but Unicorns going to be sitting happy out. We're getting close to the 15-minute mark. And to just talk a little bit more about how Gambit seem to be interacting is in terms of 20 minutes and later, the farm priority in who gets those side lanes, who gets those minion lanes, actually favors Cabochard and Betsy.
Yeah.
Forgiven is lower down the priority list. In spring, he used to be #1 out of 80 carries and picking that up.
And that is
right now,
like #1 by far.
He's #9. Every other 80 carry, barring one, picks up more CS after 20 minutes than Forgiven does. As a team decision, as a farm priority, and how the teams are playing the game.
Here's the change we keep talking about. Gambit also is a team that doesn't necessarily feel like they have to get these early dragons, and I quite like that, because if you can get early towers instead, completing an item is going to have so much more value than getting 2 or 3 stacks from a dragon. And as long as they manage to go in and stop UOL with the potential gold lead they're gonna build up if they keep taking down towers, they're gonna be able to match them at the third or fourth dragon anyway and fight for that one. Top lane here, we talked about how they could swap Forgiven up there, push it in very easily. Already got the first tower, and now mid lane is the last one. UOL has sent too many members to the top side already to defend this one. All 5 of them now have to run down to try and stop the push on mid lane.
Well, let's see if they can. One thing I do want to talk about is just how many wards are on this mini-map. Gambit have littered the top half of the map from that previous Vade, and Unicorns of Love, they've got some pretty good deep vision down to Gambit's top half of the map. The area that's somewhat lacking is ironically Cabochard, who's fairly extended. He does have information to work with. He knows where his opponents are. Telesun going for another invade. Kickus, javelin toss. Gonna be late, blocked by smaller sentinels. But there's those wards. You can see Unicorns of Love. They've got vision on Betsy. They've got vision on Diamond. They're working with information.
That is where Unicorns have played really well around this mid lane here, around Power of Evil. Getting off to a great start. But let's just see what the next item is for him. Yesterday was the Morellonomicon, because you really want that cooldown reduction for yourself. Obviously, he just had the goal once he went back to complete that Seraph, and then you go straight for it. That's often how it goes with these items for professional players. There's not always a specific reason for the order that gets. It's also depending on how much gold you have when you do back, if you manage to complete it or start building towards a new one. Now, though, they have been able to respond, getting down towers as well. So they've done a very good job reacting to Gambit and saying, we don't want to team fight you. We're just going to try and stick it to the laning phase and get objectives instead.
They're going to be matching toe for toe, blow for blow. The Unicorns with a very, very small lead. Not something we've said before 20 minutes, much this split. Unicorns of Love have traditionally been down and pulled it back because of those scaling team compositions. This time around, they've got the Dragon advantage, they've got kill advantage. They've also had pretty decent jungle pressure onto Diamond, coordinated and with numbers. Power of Evil, gonna respect the Tempered Fate and flash away. Does that give up control in the middle lane?
Well, he still had the wave plane, still full HP. He just flashed instantly, didn't want to take any chance. So no, he should be able to defend it. Obviously, Gambit might be able to make a follow-up play. But the coordination you just talked about before, that's the thing. What Unicorns of Love normally do is they take very risky plays, and they don't really calculate in, okay, what's the reward here, or how risky is it? Is there a chance we might give up 2 or 3 kills, and so on? No, they just go for it anyway. They react on the fly. They say, I can go for this one, and everyone follows. That has really been a problem for them, because it's been too easy for other teams to react and counter it. This game here, even though they've been invading in, taking buffs, you know, diving a few times around the mid lane, it's been low risk, because they had information on Gambit, they had the pressure in the lanes, and that's a change, but it's why Unicorns right now are ahead in this game.
We're getting closer to 20 minutes. Getting closer to pressure on these mid towers from Unicorns of Love, or the bottom tower from Gambit. Those are the last outer turrets remaining. And traditionally, once those fall, then the deep wards become even more prolific and invade. See which team manages to make it work first. Vardax, however, he's down on CS. Vardax is down on CS versus Forgiven, but Power of Evil is up. So let's see who's going to have a bigger impact.
I'm happy taking that one. I'd rather have my Orianna being ahead in farm than my Sivir. Vardax can offer enough with what he has at the moment, and you really want this Orianna, especially when you go for Tier Morellonomicon, to get into that late game. And Betsy...
Oh, Betsy's going to be in trouble. Wild Growth comes up. He's going to be able to flash away. That's a 2-man stun from Gosu Pepper. Cosmic Binding saving his mid laner's life. And they get away cleanly.
All right, so Gambit, once again, getting ganked in the mid lane. Betsy forced to flash away. Unicorns keeping very good control around this lane again and again. The next dragon is where we're going to have to see if Gambit want to start taking a fight. Otherwise, Unicorns might be able to just sit back and wave play with Orianna Sivir for a lot longer and get to that late game point for Power of Evil.
Oh, Betsy definitely felt the threat of that Unicorns of Love champion, much like Diamond felt the threat of the Wraith King. We did see a brief glimpse of Cabochard up top. He's picked up that Trinity Force now. Got to be feeling a bit more comfortable. Forgiven's getting closer to his static shiv. Remember, Betsy, no flash, so if he does get caught by Helisan, should be enough CC or damage to take him out.
I want to see the setup here from both teams around the Dragon. I would love to see a pink ward where Vardax is right now. He just walked into the small bush, but on the other side of the wall, they're near the mid tower of Unicorns of Love, because it's going to stop Cabochard from having that wall to TP to, and it allows you to get a potential flank with your own Alistar by moving down there and denying all that vision away from Gambit, because it's going to be about, you know, this next Dragon. If Unicorns keep getting them, suddenly we have that potential 5 dragons. Gambit also needs to find a way where they can get a team fight while they still have a nice amount of damage from the Lulu, from your Lucian.
There is one thing you have to highlight though. If team fights break out and go a little bit messy, Gambit has way more damage to play with on the condition they don't get hit by multi-man shockwaves or multi-man knockouts.
It's what we mentioned with the Shen top. I mean, that's of course what you sacrifice. He doesn't really add a whole lot of damage. So you need your AD carry and your mid laner to provide it. Gambit is running the triple threat comp. He's so often in Europe, even also with the Rek'Sai. So that's why. 3.5, let's agree on that one. And look here, Gambit, they're around the Dragon. They want to fight for it. Back in base, we have Cabochard sitting. Where's the wards behind him? There's one near that mid tower of Unicorns I mentioned before, and he's pinging on it right now. That's going to be the one he wants to TP to.
We'll see if he does. Has not started channeling it yet.
It just disappeared.
Right, is available for him. Not going to be able to find that opportunity. Chachi's just made his way to that top lane, but it is pushing towards Gambit anyway. The Unicorns of Love, they've got Scuttle Crab control. That is important to note. Cabochard's still in base.
There's no wards for him right now. There was one left near the mid tower. It disappeared. So at the moment, Gambit has 0 deep wards against the Unicorns of Love. So it's hard for Cabochard to find a good place to land his teleport, and they needed to secure a victory in that fight, stop the Dragons, and open up this game for Gambit themselves, and not allow Unicorns to play this passive style.
So we'll see whether or not Unicorns can get into this 3rd Dragon. They do appear to have found an opportunity. There's a ward on the right-hand side of the minimap in the tri-bush, and Cabochard wants to go to it.
But he's stuck in his lane against the Shen who can taunt him.
So we'll see if they can. Dragon secured. Almost uncontested. Gambit really not able to, but we do see Vardax. He's thrown down on the hunt. They've set their sights on Diamond Procs. We are going to see Kickers pouncing over, and the Shockwave is just going to help for an assist. Kill credit to Vardax with Diamond Procs down. Are they going to go to Baron? This is a brave
2 guys on the bottom lane for Gambit here. Eddie and Forgiven were moving down to clear the bot lane way. So 5 members from Unicorns on the Baron. Forgiven is not going to help. This is going to be about Betsy and Cabochard. And goes to Pepper. It's going to stun the Baron.
So Baron is golden. Tempered Fate going to delay this one. This will only be the 3rd Baron Unicorns of Love will have secured if they can. Gambit are looking to challenge. Hylissang wants to peel them away. Baron secured by Vardax as he auto-attacks it down. Betsy forced to Wild Growth himself, and he eats a boomerang blade, sending him to the grave. Gambit have lost Baron and Betsy, but they have taken 1 tower, and Chachi's going to defend.
Yeah, and Unicorns have a way in the top side. They even go for Cabochard.
Cabochard's in trouble. The Cougar's on his back, on sort of shadows to get away. And he does manage to make it out, but Unicorns with Baron empowered minions are looking to accelerate this game at 23 minutes.
Love the play here for them. Everything around that Dragon here was set up with the pink wards. There was no wards from Gambit behind them, so there was no good way to teleport. As soon as Cabochard showed himself in lane, they just started. They know Chachi can taunt him if he tries to TP. No chance for Gambit to fight. This game here has been played very, very slow paced from the Unicorns, but it's been all about the mid lane and that control they've set up to invade in and stop Gambit from making any aggressive plays.
And talk about the tools that Unicorns now have. Not only do they have Baron, they have Stand United and teleports available for Vizichachi. So many ways for them to press their advantage. Here's this Baron fight once more.
Baron fights. Betsy is like,
okay, maybe fight's a strong word.
I'm gonna try. I'm not sure what he wants to try, but he's obviously just gonna go down. Baron goes down as well, Forgiven to try and trade it for a tower in the bot lane. And Chachi in this game here, not a single ulti. Don't think he's used teleport at all either, because there's been nothing for him to do, seeing as Gambit has been unable, after losing that mid lane so hard, to make any plays on the map. Unicorns just slowly take every single dragon away from them. Power Weevil now getting towards that 3-item spike. He has his fully stacked tier, so now he's really, really powerful. And there's so much wave flip between him and Vardax as well to just stop their easy pushes from Gambit.
The scary thing is, it's only a 2,500 gold lead, but the amount of control feels significantly higher. We'll See whether or not Unicorns can continue this level of control. They are going to take that outer turret down. They do have Chachi, as you mentioned, with Stand United up top. Gambit are grouped though. Let's see whether or not they can find a team fight against this massive minion wave. Oh, very well farmed Unicorns of Love.
Of minions. There's an engage, potentially.
Only onto Helisang, though. We do see Stand United comes out. Diamond Prox gets the knockup. Cabochon is trying to trample him down, but he's not going to be able to find anyone. He will be going down shortly as Bardax lands one more of those ricochets. Now Chachi's on the defensive, trying to get away. Gambit look relatively healthy, but they're down in numbers until Betsy eats that javelin from Kikis. That's a flash. The shockwave pulls Forgiven backwards, and he will be going down. Unicorns of Love lose Helisang, but that is it. They will get the tower, and it looks like Kikis is going to get stunned against the wall. You can see that stat line up top, 16 deaths, tying the entirety of the Spring Split games for Forgiven. Not working out for Gambit today. Unicorns onto the next inhibitor turret as Kikis sinks his fangs in. Gets one more kill against Gambit.
First ulti from Chachi. Didn't have to do anything before. Tonic goes Pepper.
Oh, Gosu's down!
But that team, like everything from the Unicorns, they knew what was going to happen. You know, there's going to be an engage. Gambit has to try and do something. Ult in on whatever target it is. Flash out. Bardax was untouched as well. And you just see how strong this 5-on-5 combo is once they've started to scale up towards that late game.
Officio, Unicorns of Love are the CLG of Europe, because they break your hearts one day and give you hope another. Here's another look at this team fight.
Yeah, so it's a good engage from Gambit. They get a mass knock-up here. They have to fear from Cabochon, but the problem is now they're starting to fall a bit behind in damage as well. And also, Stand United, even a heal from Kikis, the shield from Power Weevil himself, and the fact you have all your summoners ready is enough for UOL to stop the engage, to stop him dying, and this is a beautiful combo. Helsing going in with the ball on him. Forgiven goes down.
Doesn't matter, he hit one man. One man's the damage dealer. Worked out in favor. So, Unicorn, super minions in 2 lanes. You know, when we were about 18 minutes, I was starting to get myself thinking this is going to be a long one, we're in for a slow game. And in the course of the last 6 or 7, Unicorns have just completely skyrocketed away. And now they're going to start poking down with that Orianna ball, with the Nidalee javelins, with the boomerangs. And Gambit very soon are going to have to deal with multiple super minions in their base.
Yeah, there's a ward behind. Cabochon is sitting in base. This might be the last chance for Gambit. Just try and all-in engage. See if you can get onto someone like Power Weevil or Bardax. There's no flash on the carries. TP is coming in now.
Well, Chachi's the only one that gets hit by Tempered Fate. Gosu didn't have the greatest ultis yesterday, and he's not having the greatest today. Betsy will get caught out against the wall, and Unicorns of Love, they've at least thwarted the threat of the engage from Hecarim, and now the super minions are into the base. You see them cresting those steps. Unicorns have bided their time, using the sustain from Alistar, and they're on to the next inhibitor turret. Nothing Gambit can do. Helisang hates those minions, knocks them up in the air. All 3 inhibs are down, Officio.
So many super minions, 5 guys from UOL as well. They got Diamond.
While Diamond's going to be dropping javelin in the behind. Unicorns get kill number 10. They're onto the Nexus turret as Gosu's being zoned away. One is down. Supers are going to help on the next one. And the Unicorns of Love will break their losing streak to take down Gambit and go 4-4 on the splits.
And they could be very happy here. But such a different Unicorns of Love compared to what we have seen the last few weeks, where it's just like all-in aggression, don't really care about what the risk is, and end up getting it bad early on that sets them super far behind. In this game here, everything seemed to be under control. It all started with that first gank on Betsy in the mid lane, where he positions himself next to a wall. Easy for Kikis to get it. Means they win the mid lane. They use that to then invade in on these buffs here. Find Diamond in there, and they start taking control around that mid lane, stopping Gambit from quickly taking down all outer turrets and speeding up the game, get into that mid game in an open map where you can team fight against the tier Orianna. That never happened because of that mid lane. And it simply just stopped any aggression from Gambit.
So very impressive performance from UOL. The decision making was not there yesterday for the team, but it is today, and you can see Betsy on your screen at the moment. Definitely feeling the exact opposite that Sheepy currently is. Big smiles in his face, but we have to keep talking about it. It is not the same performance. It is not the same decision making. This time around, almost everything was great. Unicorns, they played safe, they played controlled, they had the vision game, they played Baron effectively. I mean,
it's a mystery. I don't get it. I don't get it. How you go from being this completely insane team one day and you feel like you guys are losing this for yourself because you just throw yourself at the other team. And then suddenly it seems like they have a game plan and they just follow it step by step by step. Even when they knew they were losing the bot lane tower, they're like, okay, how do we gain anything from this? We know he's going to recall to get that BF sword and take out tower, get the first dragon, get the next dragon while we sacrifice another one, and play around that here so we suddenly have these dragons going for us, which is the thing these scaling comps often are afraid of if the other team gets them early.
Talking about the comps, let's actually take a look at the picks and bans and how that played out, because of course the Orianna is something that I'm not a massive fan of in Power of Evil. This time it worked. This time it worked very well, thanks to Kikis's early jungle pressure. Now Forgiven on Lucian, the 10th loss that Lucian has suffered in summer. It is not an AD carry that's working. Sivir, on the other hand, is.
Yeah, it's hard to blame Forgiven, though, for anything here, because he did his job. He won his lane against the Sivir. He took 2 towers down because of that. Problem was still, look around that mid lane. We had the Lulu, we had the Rek'Sai. Funny enough, the 2 members who died more than once from Gambit were Diamond and Betsy, because they were the ones under pressure. They got ganked, they got invaded on. Full credit to Kikis as well in this game here on that middle lane. The work he did in the early game, from taking buffs, timing that blue buff as well, the small things allowed Unicorn to love to get to late game. I say late game, you're like, what, 25 minutes in.
Yeah, 29 minutes that Nexus fell down. I'd love to find out from, hopefully, Cyanide, a little bit of an opinion about that early trade of blue buff and red buff, and the slightly awkward start, standard lanes, but trading buffs in a weird and wonderful manner, and just Kikis, as well as Hilisan, getting a read on Diamond. I mean, Diamond, he didn't necessarily face check, he got caught in his jungle, I think is fair, to give up some of those kills, but great read from Unicorns. And as per usual, they're consistently inconsistent.
Yeah, same again. And when you have a guy like Visichachi, who's such a fantastic top laner, and he doesn't have to do anything for 25 minutes, and you still win, shows how well the other members played.
It's also important to note that for a team like Unicorns of Life, who play second in spring, they're now 4-4 after 8 games. We're reaching that halfway point. These are teams that we're expecting to go to playoffs. These are teams that are expecting to make it to Stockholm. They want to play in Sweden, and we'll see how they're going to plan to get there, because they need to fix a lot of problems. Anyways, we're going to head over to the analyst desk where they're joined by some of Sheepy's pink ponies.
It's a nice way to put it. Joined here by Power of Evil and Hilisan after that victory, which was very convincing. And to be totally honest, none of us really expected it to be that convincing.
She never asked me. I totally knew you guys were going to win.
No, but it was a very stark contrast to what we've seen in the last couple of games. So what was different in this one? I don't know who, if you wants to take it.
Well, I think we were more calm than yesterday. We had more clean calls, and we were not so hyped, because I think yesterday we were so hyped and we were like so on rush. We wanted to rush things and it didn't work fine. We had split decision making, but today I think we were on the same page and we followed the call and we did it.
So you guys were on the same page today, and we saw that less aggressive flashes, less just hesitation and just more doing the right thing together as a team. Did something change in shot calling, or is that just one day Unicorns are just chaotic, everybody all across the place, or did somebody take up the role of like a designated shot caller today?
Well, so yesterday I think it was really unusual for us, because normally we are really good at shot calling, I think, and we just did a really bad decision of ulting with the Shen to the Baron. We didn't find the engage, and I think we were kind of lost, because we weren't sure if we should go back with the Shen, because he couldn't really handle the Gnar, I think, anymore. So we were just lost in the split push, which we couldn't handle. And today we were like, every call was really clear and we executed it really good, I think, compared to yesterday.
Yeah, you mentioned it as well. There's a similar picks, but a different playstyle coming out of you. Orianna, twice in a row. Yesterday I said those aggressive flashes, and it felt to me like you kind of want to flash in and absolutely make a play happen, because you know you're at the center of your team. Why then always go for the Orianna?
Well, so I think Orianna is a mid laner who can always win the mid lane if you have enough pressure. I think Orianna is a really skilled mid laner. Like, everything is about skill shots, about hitting a shockwave, and I think every matchup is equally strong. And with the Shen, you can play a little bit more aggressive. You have the potential of 2v2 mid lane if the jungler ganks you, so you can overextend. And yesterday, well, I flashed once twice too aggressively because I tunnel vision, but that's normally not going to happen with Orianna. Normally just like shockwave.
Yeah, play it slow. And in terms of different playstyles, we've seen Hylissang. You used to play a lot of these like Morgana lanes and Thresh where you would get a lot of advantage on lane. But as that gets banned out more and more, we saw you pick up the Alistar and roam a lot. Is that just a change you were forced into, or do you just think roaming and getting that vision out, like that pick you made yesterday, I think it was against Svensker in the jungle right now, we saw you get a pick on Diamond Procs too. Is that something that's new in your playstyle, or you've been doing more or less?
Well, mostly about Alistar. He's not the greatest laning phase. He doesn't have a great laning phase. He's more about rooms. Together with Kikis, it works the best, maybe the best roaming champion for support. And the dive potential with this champion is ridiculous. And Anya as well, like those two champions are really good with rooms and diving people.
Yeah, that's something that definitely fits you guys' playstyle. Now, stepping away from these games, when we looked at your games, you know, last split, you're rookies, so you're allowed to make a decent amount of mistakes. Now you're in your second split, and to us it felt, I mean, you can say if it wasn't to you again if you want to opt
okay,
out.
I'll join in shocks. Including Laurie, who was sitting
Laurie was sitting there to throw him
that.
under the bus. No, anyway, just really realistically looking at your games, it does seem like you guys have hit somewhat of a ceiling in terms of making the same mistakes that you did in the spring split. I'd love to have your vision on your own growth, Power.
Well, so I think we can perform as we did today in most of our games. I think yesterday was just, as Hylissang already said before, I think we were hyped a little bit too much. We had split decisions, and I think if you just play out the game out as today, with the right calls, with the clear calls, everyone following it, I'm pretty sure we have a bright future.
I feel like if we just play a bit more calm, we can win like against Fnatic and every team. If we are just a bit more calm and we have like a straight call and we follow the call, we will beat everyone, I think.
All right, clear calls, full hearts can't lose. Congratulations on this one. Unicorns of Love back on the board. As for us, we need to step away as we prepare for our last match of the week, where Elements will look to upset the 5-2 Origin. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Yeah.
Let's do it, boys! Hype!
Hype.
Hype!
Gambit are looking to challenge. Hylissang wants to peel them away. Baron secured by Vortex as he auto-attacks it down. Betsy forced to wild growth himself. Diamond Procs gets the knockup. Cabochon is trying to trample him down, but he's not going to be able to find anyone.
I can flash.
Okay. Have a volume. Lucian, nice! Keep going!
I'm dead.
Don't go more. Turret.
And the Unicorns of Love will break their losing streak